Hey, what's up, guys? This is Nate. This is the台本なし英会話 lesson podcast. I'm excited to talk with you guys today and do an all English episode. It's going to be fun. So, as usual, announcements. Well, follow us on social media. So that's me. So I'm Nate English Teacher on social media like Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. We have the 台本なし英会話 lesson Facebook page. And then there is my co-host Sota, who is 英語のそーた on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And of course, he is putting out YouTube videos all the time now. So definitely go check out his newest YouTube video. He is a machine making all these YouTube videos. Are you guys enjoying them? I hope so. Let's get started with this all English episode. Okay, so what is the topic for today? It is how to talk about the outbreak of the coronavirus, or any virus, really. Okay, so I just had to talk about this today. I know the topic last week was, the same topic, but it was a bilingual episode, and we were focusing more on discrimination. We weren't really 100% focused on the coronavirus outbreak. So today I thought, well, there's so much news, about the coronavirus. Every day we're seeing it on, TV news or especially social media. Like every post I see on social media is about the coronavirus outbreak, basically. So today I thought I can introduce some phrases to you and I can give you my personal comments about, what's going on as well. So if you listen today, hopefully you can learn how to use a couple new words that are related to this outbreak of the coronavirus. So in the news articles, in social media, the English posts, you'll see these words a lot. Okay. So I don't even know where to start, but I guess I'll just start with the current situation. And because I'm American, I'm kind of, I'm focused on the news, especially about America, and I'm living in Japan, so about the news in Japan. So one thing that I'm very interested in are travel restrictions and closing of borders. Right? Those are two big things. So a travel restriction, that means restrict, it means to like stop or limit something. So it means you can't travel somewhere, right? So of course there were travel restrictions, as we talked about in the last podcast, for what was it called? Hubei province, I think it's called, or some other province is like a state. In Japan, it's a prefecture, but in China, it's called a province. So there was the travel restriction for people coming from Wuhan or Hubei province, I think. So that's a travel restriction. It means the people can't come. They're blocked from coming. But the reason I say this phrase now is because in America, I think Trump gave a speech and he said there are more travel restrictions, or at least he's considering travel restrictions, especially for even people in Japan. The actual travel restrictions are for China. We talked about that before, but I think they're increasing to possibly people from South Korea, or I'm not sure if they're doing Italy yet, and some are for Iran as well. So there's some travel restrictions that America is considering, or they have already started, where the person from that country can't come. Well, at least if they were in that country for 14 days. So there's like the 14-day period that they couldn't come. So anyways, the first phrase is travel restrictions. And those are really scary, aren't they? Because, if that happens, I can't even go home. Right? I live in America, so... Well, no, you know what? I think actually I could go home because I'm an American citizen. but it's very complicated about, the whole situation is very complicated. It's not clear if I'm of course I could go home because that's my home country, but, my family or, how would that work? I'm not sure. Another phrase I said was close the border. So close the border. Border is like the line or the space between the countries, and it's like the separating part from one country to another country. So in the areas with a lot of countries like Europe or the Middle East, they close the border. Basically, they just block the border, and the people from the neighboring country, the next country, they can't go through the border. So I think that happened especially with Iran, because that country doesn't have such a good medical system, health system. So I think the countries nearby are very worried about the spread of the, coronavirus from one country to the other country. So they close the border, right? So you can use the phrase border or to cross the border. Those are more common phrases. Close the border is only this extreme situation of an outbreak of the coronavirus. Okay, a couple words that I mentioned were, of course, outbreak. Outbreak, it's used only for this extreme situation where there's a virus or bacteria or something that is very, impacting the world or impacting the people. It's like a disease that starts spreading. It's called an outbreak. So an outbreak of a disease, it could be any disease, but it should be the disease that spreads between people. And spread is a very common word that you see. So the virus spreads from one person to another person, right? Another word you might see is transmission. Transmission. So to transmit, it means to to get from information from A to B, the point from A to B. It could be like to send some information. So you can transmit a message. It means you send the message from one place to the next place. When you see the word transmission, it means the virus is going from A to B. So spreading from one person to the other person. So when you see the word transmission, it's probably focused about how does it spread from one person to the other person. So the transmission of the coronavirus is from they say from the droplets of from your nose or from your mouth. Okay, droplet. Let's go back. Transmission. So that's TRANSMISSION, transmission. And that's the noun from the verb transmit. So transmit is TRANSMIT. So the transmission is through droplets. Droplets are like a drop, a small drop. So droplet is DROPLET, droplet. And of course, that comes from, I guess, your nose or your mouth when you're talking to someone or you're sneezing or coughing or something like that. And so, those droplets have, the virus in them. And then if they go from one person to another person, you say they're transmitted through those droplets, right? You can also say spread through those droplets. Spread is SPREAD. They're both okay words. I think spread is just more general term. Transmission is a noun, and then transmit is a little bit more formal phrase. Yeah. So I've been super worried about this idea of how it's transmitted, how it's spread from one person to another person, and this is kind of what I'm thinking about the most is how to avoid, the transmission of the disease of the virus, or how to avoid, of course, getting the virus. I don't want to get the coronavirus. So of course, you guys know, number one is to wash your hands. And, yeah, it's kind of surprising that people don't usually wash their hands. I mean, recently it's become a kind of topic on social media. It's that why do you need to remind people? Why do you need to tell people to wash their hands? They should wash their hands, anyway. But you know what? People aren't used to washing their hands, so often. Maybe once a day. I don't know. I wash my hands a lot though. And since there has been this outbreak, of the coronavirus, I've been very, very careful to wash my hands and to wash them very thoroughly. Thoroughly, it means completely, doing it exactly all of the steps and doing it completely. So thorough is THOROUGHLY, thoroughly. It's a difficult word to say, but very useful. Thoroughly, it means to do something completely. You don't skip any step. You do a good job of doing it. And I think this word is good for Japanese culture, Japanese people, because Japanese people are kind of perfectionists, and they, in my opinion, they do things very thoroughly. Sometimes it takes extra time to do things thoroughly, but you still do it. Whereas sometimes in America, we skip some steps because we hurry, or we don't want to take the time to do it perfectly. So anyways, yeah, wash your hands, of course. And of course, there's this issue of the masks, right? So in America, they say the masks don't help. Right, you don't need to wear a mask. That's what I think the CDC is the Center for Disease Control. It's like the government part, or it's the American, it's part of the American government which deals with diseases and viruses and this kind of problem, like the coronavirus situation. So they say you don't need to wear a mask, right? But I think there's a few things about that. One is that if you're sick, of course you should wear a mask, because if you cough or you sneeze, it helps to block the droplets, right? As I said, it helps to stop the transmission. But if you're not sick, they say a mask doesn't help. I don't know. I think Japanese people disagree, because everyone in Japan wears a mask. And personally, I feel more comfortable wearing a mask. So, yeah, that's more of a kind of discussion that I'm not sure. I'm not sure, really. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion. What do you think? Is it useful to wear a mask? Are you guys wearing masks? I don't know. I'm not sure. But me personally, I would say if you wear a mask very carefully, then I think it can help. But I don't know if the science backs that up. The science, of course, is the real, information was tested. So I don't know if it's perfectly proven for that. And of course, to avoid getting sick, eating good food and getting sleep, right? So those are the important things. We talked about that, I think, last episode as well. Okay. Another word I wanted to mention was press conference, right? Press conference. So these are becoming more and more common. Press conference or statements. A press conference is when the leader of some organization, for example, the leader of America, Trump, does a kind of speech in front of the press. The press is P-R-E-S-S. Press is, like the news people, the people who write news articles. They ask questions during the press conference. And basically it's, President Trump giving a talk about the situation. In this case, he gave a press conference about the coronavirus situation. I think he gave two, maybe. One was he was saying that coronavirus situation wasn't so bad. And then I think the second one, he kind of changed and he said, yeah, it's actually we need to be more careful about it. So everyone, of course, was angry with him after the first press conference. But later on, I think the second one, I think he's taking it more seriously. So yeah, in all countries, they have press conferences. I think there was one in Iran that I saw on social media where one of the leaders looked like they were even sick. And actually they came down with the coronavirus. So they got the virus as well, which is pretty crazy. And of course, in Japan, Abe, he gave a press conference. I think it was a press conference. Maybe Abe's was just a speech. I'm not sure. I didn't watch it. I just read the news about it. But if he was talking, in front of the people and they could ask him questions, that's, press conference. Well, actually, you know what? I'm not sure if they can always ask questions, but usually they should be able to. Anyways, that's something that's happened recently when the leaders of the country have a press conference. Also, statement. A statement is like a official document or information. Well, a real meaning of statement is what you say. It's something you say officially. So in this case, the statement is a written information. It could be a document that just says some information. For the coronavirus situation, a statement will say the official information, like, for example, one person in Washington state has the coronavirus, and it gives some details. For example, how they got it. So did they get it from someone who came from China or came from a different country, and give some information about it. But it's like an official information that usually is on social media, or it could be looks like kind of a PDF on like a link or on social media. It says, this is the statement from the American government, or this is a statement from the professional person or the scientist or something like that. But the statements usually come from the countries or the organizations or something like that. So yeah, recently I saw one statement. I guess there's a small outbreak in Washington state, and some officials in that area had the statement, and they said, I guess a few people now have the coronavirus there, and it was based, I guess it was a healthcare worker. So I think a nurse, I'm not sure exactly, but it could be someone who was working as a nurse in a care home. So like old people's, I think it was the old people's home, or possibly a hospital. So anyways, those are two other words that would come up. Yeah, finally. One thing that I've just been checking is the cases, the confirmed cases around the world. So a case means one, so a case is C-A-S-E, case. It means one coronavirus happening, one time that happens. So this means, of course, one person, right? So one case of the coronavirus is one person who has the coronavirus. So if you check on social media or on the news, it would say like one case of, or the first case of coronavirus in which country? Like, I think, I saw Iceland. I saw recently. So it said first case of coronavirus in Iceland confirmed, right? So it means one person now has the coronavirus in Iceland. So a case of something, it means that thing is happening once, maybe in the person, or it doesn't have to be only a virus. A court case, that means a different meaning. That means one situation where someone broke the law, or someone is trying to, sue someone in the court. That's a court case, or there's many cases, but it just means one happening or one aspect, one situation of that. And confirm is C-O-N-F-I-R-M-E-D, confirmed. it means they checked the information and it's true. It's actually happening. They checked. Probably it means by the test. So they were tested for the coronavirus. So it's a confirmed case. Sometimes it's like they're not sure. Maybe it's true. We don't know which country they're from, etc. But a confirmed case in a country, that means they checked and it's 100% that one person has it in that country. Oh, man. This coronavirus thing is crazy, guys. I really hope that the world can, solve this problem together, right? It's, we've just been watching, it came from China and then it's slowly moving its way from Asia to now even the Middle East and Europe. And I'm following this one Twitter account that they post, I don't know, every 10 minutes or something. So you can see the updated information very soon after it happens. And the scariest thing is they say each country that has its first case, as I said. And recently I just saw it says like, oh, Mexico had its first case, or Iceland had its first case, or I think it was African country, Nigeria had its first case. So everyone gets a little bit scared when they hear the new country had its first case because they imagine, oh, maybe that country doesn't have a good healthcare system, and we start worrying. Okay, guys, that was a big one. That was a serious topic for today, but I really think it's important for you guys to know some words and phrases and to hear me talk about it with a little bit clear and easy explanations. So when you want to check the English news, hopefully you can understand it a little bit better. So anyways, some phrases that we went over was a case of, or a confirmed case of the virus, an outbreak of the virus, transmission of the virus from one person to another person, the spread of the virus from one person to another person. How it spread is through droplets, the small drop, and blocking or closing the borders from one country to another because the other country has the outbreak of the coronavirus, and travel restrictions between one country and another country, and also the press conference or statements from the countries with the information about what's happening. Oh man, it is getting very serious. I hope everyone is staying safe. It's going to be interesting in a kind of, of course, interesting in this case means maybe a little scary, or I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a little bit interesting in the next few weeks. I hope Japan can overcome, this problem. And yeah, recently, the schools have closed down for a few weeks, not even a few weeks, for a month, I guess. And also like Disneyland and some other companies and stuff are at least closing for 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens after those 2 weeks, but let's cross our fingers and let's wash our hands a lot, and everyone just stay healthy. And yeah, it's so nice to be able to talk with you guys over this podcast, because you don't have to talk with me face to face, and we worry about, transmission of this virus from one person to another person. So you're just listening to me on the radio, the podcast, so you don't have to worry about any of those problems. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening today. As usual, follow us on social media. I'm Nate English Teacher, or Nate Sensei, also on Instagram and Twitter. And Sota is Ego no Sota on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And check out his recent YouTube videos, which are linked below the episode, link below. You can check for those, for his new YouTube video link. All right, guys. So yeah, what do you think about this, the situation that's going on? It's it keeps, new countries keep having issues. It was China first, then Korea, then Italy, and now America and Japan, and who knows which other countries are going to have these problems. So yeah, let's get through it and, keep studying English to improve your international communication so we can help each other in the future. All right, guys, have a good next week, and I will talk to you next time. All right, bye-bye.